These are two things that I did that dramatically, no pun intended, changed the way that I approach auditions. There was a time in my career where I was auditioning with a massive lack mentality. Basically, I was auditioning when the rare audition actually did come up, and I had this massive belief that I wasn't going to do very well, wasn't going to get anywhere, the panel didn't want to see me, the panel absolutely hated me, I'm going to mess this up, I don't want to do this, and this is super, super stressful. And I spent years doing this for no good reason. It wasn't until I became aware that I was holding myself back, that I was actually the reason why I wasn't progressing as much in my career, that I made a massive conscious decision to change. And I changed in these very simple but effective ways. So if you yourself are struggling and holding yourself back in your auditions with self-doubt, and if you spend most of the process overthinking and second-guessing yourself, then this is definitely for you. So just make sure that you click like and that you subscribe to the channel and that you tell loads of people about it. Okay, so the first thing that I changed was how I was preparing. Prior to me making this change, all I was doing was spending most of my time just reading the script because that was incredibly safe. Not actually preparing the dialogue very well. I would kind of just very loosely, very lightly get off book, not actually make any creative decisions, any creative choices in the work, not actually delve into the text analysis, anything below the surface level. And I would basically just go into the audition with a very vague idea of what I was going to do and then just wing it. And if you do the same, then you may or may not know that this action actually stems from the belief that you're not actually going to get the job or the place at drama school anyway, because your brain is logicking the fact that if you don't actually try 100% and you get rejected, then it's on the basis that you didn't fully prepare, not on the basis that you're just no good. Because it would sting a heck of a lot more if you fully prepared for the audition and still got a rejection. So we don't prepare fully so that the sting is less. Also, by not preparing fully and going into an audition and just winging it, in a sense, we're actually predicting the outcome of the audition. We're essentially ensuring that we're not going to have a successful audition, that we are going to definitely get a no. And I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but subconsciously it gives us ownership and predictability within an environment that has no predictability whatsoever, where we're completely out of control of the outcome. In an industry where we feel like we're at the mercy of an audition panel and that we're constantly striving and searching for a yes as opposed to a no, that if we can actually assert some kind of ownership and some kind of predictability over the outcome, then our brain will naturally want to do that because our brain is wired to protect us. The problem is, if you actually want to book jobs or get into drama school, then you actually do have to try. And when I made this realization, that is when I actually made the decision, the conscious decision to change things. I started to actually fully 100% prepare all of the material that was needed for each audition. I would read the script, I would actually analyze the text properly, go through it, make loads of creative decisions, and in the days running up to the audition, as I was getting off book, I would continuously play and adapt and change things and continue to mine the text for more evidence to back up some more creative choices that I could play with in the moment when I go into the audition. If anything, this became a lot more of an enjoyable experience because it was like I was just in a rehearsal room again, that I was playing and exploring and being curious about the material, as opposed to what I was doing before, which was to just not get attached to it, because if I got attached and then it was taken away from me, it would hurt more. But by actually fully preparing, I found that when I was going into the auditions, I was a lot less nervous. I had a lot more ownership over what I was going to do. So although I didn't have the predictability of the outcome because that was out of my control, what I did have control over was all of the work, the preparation, the foundation that I'd put in prior to going into the room, which meant that I actually had so much more freedom to work impulsively and instinctively in the moment. Whereas before, where I was really, really unsure about what I was doing, I had no capability of actually being able to play and get curious when I was in the audition room. And I started to believe that regardless of the outcome, at least I tried, at least I put in 100%, and that the outcome will be one of two things and that I have to be prepared for both. But by focusing on what I can control in the moment, I actually had so much more belief in myself, my skills, my capability, and that really came across when I went into audition rooms. So I highly recommend doing this. You will start to see such a difference in your approach to the auditions, in your mindset, your mentality, and what you're actually capable of doing creatively in the moment. The second thing that I changed was this idea, the belief that I was holding around what I thought the audition panel thought of me. I was always holding on to this limiting belief that the audition panel just didn't want to see me, that they just weren't interested, and that they were going to spend a very short amount of time in the audition room just trying to get rid of me. So I was going in already feeling like I was inconveniencing an audition panel, or that they were dead set against me from the off. When in fact, this could not be further from the truth, because the audition panel had actively invited me to the audition. They had actually said, Louise, we want to see you audition for this part. We think that you would be good for this. They asked me. It wasn't like I went up to them and said, please, sir, please, may I have an audition? They kind of said, yeah, we would like you to come and audition for us. So why was I holding on to the thought that they wanted nothing to do with me? Basically, it was because of the way that I was seeing and valuing myself. I was essentially projecting my own limiting beliefs and my views of myself onto the audition panel and making it seem like they were the ones that were holding that view. So as an effect of that, I just continuously went into pleasing mode, of going into the audition and thinking that they were of a much higher status than I was, and I spent all that time trying to please them, trying to second guess myself and give them what they wanted from this kind of really low status place. I was either doing that or I was just on a massive protective defense mode and actually refusing to let the audition panel in, and therefore halting any effort that they were making to actually fully collaborate with me, which is the whole point of an audition. So the shift that I made was this. Now, it sounds slightly cheesy, but I want you to go with me on this. I really want you to hear me out, because it made a huge difference when it came to me going into audition rooms. So what I would do before I would go into the audition room, this is regardless of whether it was an in-person audition, whether it was a digital Zoom audition, whether it was a self-tape, before I put my hand on the door to actually open it, I would whisper to myself, audibly whisper to myself, they are excited to meet me. Yes, I know it sounds really cheesy and it sounds really braggy and up my own arse, but what it did was refocus my thoughts in the moment just before I was going in, taking it from a negative place to a positive place. I basically hijacked my brain, and by using the word excited, it actually made me think, oh my God, I am the solution to their problems. They're so excited to meet me because I am going to solve all of their problems for them. That it isn't just a case of it's a conveyor belt of actors going through an audition process. They specifically asked for me, so they are specifically excited to meet specifically me. It gave me the opportunity to actually reroute my own thoughts in real time just before I went into the audition room. And by doing it just before you go into the audition room, it gives you a little boost, a little injection of belief in yourself. And that is something that you're going to likely need when you're going into a high stakes, high stress, nerve-wracking environment. And it would please me to no end that if actors up and down the country started going into audition rooms by whispering to themselves, they're excited to see me, it would just fill my heart with joy. So there we go. They are the two simple changes that I made in my audition approach that had a massive dramatic effect for the positive on how I was approaching auditions. I really hope that they are incredibly helpful for you, and I would love to know if there are any little tricks or tips that you would give other people of how you can approach auditions, something really simple that you've used for however many years that always works for you. And if you've got any of those, make sure to put them in the comments. I'm dying to read them. But in the meantime, just remember to click like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.